Good morning to all of you. I'm happy to welcome you again to this new module. Describe the role of digital platforms in educating the public about food waste and sustainable consumption. Yes, I was just looking if my microphone is working and is working. So you are still in the course Community Engagement and Communication for Food Waste Prevention. So I'm going to help me a little bit with my bullet points because this is a tough one. Lots of specific information. So we will explore all the tools for education and communication regarding the sustainability transitions. So we're talking about digital platforms. You will see that there are a lot of digital solutions to help us to change. We are not going the names. I'm not going to give you the names of the apps. This is something you will have to do by yourself. But I will give you some examples to teach you how. But it's more to give you an overview of all the platforms, the communication strategies, and how engage the people. So, yes, we are focusing today on how digital platforms can contribute to the public education. We'll see different type of digital platforms. We'll see as well how the communication strategies influence the behavior. Some opportunities and limitation, of course, because the digital is really great, but it's not the solution for everything. And we will understand how the digital tools can integrate into comprehensive prevention strategies. So let's start. Digital platforms in food waste education. So in the context of food waste prevention, they enable learning processes that extend beyond formal education systems. So thanks to website, for example, or social medias or application as well, the information is going on all the time. Okay, and the great thing with the digital platform is that we can increase the audience. Okay, because we all have our phone all the time with us, so it's a great tool to inform and to educate. But the platform as well support awareness raising, so this is very good, provide guidance and shape how food waste issues are understood. But all those, educational impact depends not only on reach, but how learning is structured within digital environments. Okay, so it's all about the target, because we can talk to everyone on the social media, for example, but it's not its targeting, which is very important as well, because the aim of the education part through digital platform is really to increase the awareness of the people, to let them creating actions, real actions. So the digital communication and sustainability challenges. So these platforms allow sustainability issues to be discussed outside classroom within everyday digital routines. So learning becomes continuous, informal, and socially mediated as well. So increased exposure does not automatically imply deeper understanding, which raise questions about learning quality and engagement depth, because it's true that the sustainability is a large subject, and it's true that talking about sustainability is not always very easy, because sustainability is everywhere. So with the digital communication, we can always, us, as the person who get the information through those applications, we can get the information, but it doesn't mean that we are going to be touched by the communication on the information, and especially with subjects such as sustainability, because it's too large sometimes. And when you start with sustainability, sometimes you just don't know how to start, how to get the information and what kind of information you can get. So I just put this visual. I thought it was very interesting because this is more, if you want to talk about sustainability, I like the point number 5, communicate with transparency, because the more we are honest, the more we share the values we are having inside us, the more maybe we can convince. It's not just convince, because I don't like that much this term, but convince in the sense of sharing, giving information, but with all the transparency possible. Okay, so yes, have a look on this visual. It's some guidelines about the communication, how to create the message, how to use the good terms as well when we communicate about the sustainability, to whom we are talking to, and what is the impact of what I'm saying. And yes, if I'm transparent and honest, the communication is always easier. So the digital education and behavioral change. So the digital food education reflects a shift toward informal and lifelong learning. So the digital environments influence perceptions and social norms, especially when sustainable practices are made visible through peer behavior. However, behavioral change remains mediated by habits and contextual constraints, and digital platforms therefore function as complementary tools that support but not replace other prevention strategies. So it's true that it's digital education is a good impact. It can help us to increase the perceptions we have about the subject, but it's always very important to be in the real life. And that's why before I was talking about in the model number 2 about the workshops, the events we can do. So a part of the digital education is really important, but being in the real life and acting on the ground in a community, for example, is the key as well. Maybe the most important, who knows. Types of digital platforms used in the food waste education. So informal website provides structured and evidence-based knowledge. Social media platforms support informal learning through visibility and peer interaction, but it can help, let's say, it can help. Mobile applications integrate education into daily routine by offering practical support. And yes, the educational effectiveness of each platform depends on how accessibility, interactivity, and relevance are combined. So you can use everything. Maybe you have to see the level you have about the digital platforms, because sometimes when we start to change, for example, the food loss and waste, sometimes it's great to scroll on the phone and to see some accounts, even on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, even if we're not acting, because maybe day after day we will make the wish that we want to connect in other apps. For example, some apps regarding this subject are creating as well communities. It's digital communities, and maybe we can be more active into these communities, even if it's on an application and even if it's digital. Okay, so if you need to get information, go on the internet, nourish your brain about all those new ideas, and maybe you can do an action to be part of a community even online. Educational strengths and limits of digital platform. So scalability is the structural advantage because institutions and organizations can reach large audience rapidly. This is true. But second, targeting allows educational content to be customized to different groups, which can improve relevance and reduce cognitive load. But the digital divide introduces inequity problems because unequal access. Not everyone has access on some digital applications. The connectivity of the people and affordability excludes some groups, and exclusion is not random. It's often maps into socio-economic vulnerability. So, yes, it means that sometimes effectiveness is not very well measured. So a rigorous evaluation must be asked: who I want to reach, who is included, who is as well excluded, and how the digital education affects the inequalities in awareness and behavior. So in the visual I've put here, we can see that there are lots of benefits regarding the digital platforms and education online. For example, access information content 23%. This is great. This is a lot. But yes, sometimes the equipped learners with the digital skills needed for the workforce, 24%. And sometimes look at the last one, efficiency, only 13%. So it's always my implication into the digital platforms and how I can do it as well in terms of actions in the real life. Let's say that like this: communication framing and behavioral influence. Yes, so I wanted to give a definition of framing effect. I think that the example is very good. It's an example about meat labeling. So you can write, for example, you can read, for example, on the meat or on the vegetables, whatever the product, 75% lean, rather than 25% fat. So, or sometimes we have this with the milk, with the price, 20% off instead of 80% of the original price. So yes, it's all about communication. It's all about how I'm going to be transparent with the people, or if I am the consumer, is how aware I am to understand the message that I'm getting. This is sometimes a question of marketing, because yes, the marketing, sometimes it's how to create a great product, great communication with a good price in a good location, and how to make us buy this product. So pay attention of the framing effect. So this is a very good example, the one with the meat or the one with the price. So it shows how it's going to influence us in the way to consume or to buy. Trust, credibility, and information quality. Yes, so this chapter highlights the transparency as an educational principle. The content should be clearly indicate where claims come from and how knowledge is grounded. So the digital education may raise awareness but fails to sustain confidence. And another key point is the risk of over persuasion, because if the users, for example, they feel manipulated, they really are not going to engage more. That's why the transparency is really a great key. And the trust mediates the pathway from exposure to action. And yes, the digital platforms can scale, but without credible sourcing and transparent design, they can also accelerate confusion. So these visuals show the credibility at the center, which is the key, because around if we have the credibility, we have the quality, we have the reliability, and we have the trust of the people, and we have the expertise. And this brings lots of trust, and this is really taking care of the relationship we have with the people, not only about the food loss and waste subject, but taking care about the relationship, because the more we get the trust, the more we can communicate well, the more we can get the information well. And this is really about the quality of the information. Framing and messaging in digital environments. So behavioral evidence in the chapters emphasizes that the norm-based framing, highlighting the peer's behavior, can influence intentions by reshaping perceptions of what is normal. So this is what we saw before with this example in the meet. Digital platforms amplify this because they make endorsement, shares, and visible practices highly salient. Collective responsibility framing reduces backlash because it avoids moralizing and distributes responsibility across a social group. So it's a question of how to be, yes, on realism, how to be realistic, because framing must link to feasible action. But if digital messages proposes behavior disconnected from the daily constraints, they produce intention without capacity, and engagement declines. So this is another good example. Half empty, half full. And this is as well how you see the glass. So pay attention on the products you can buy, and yes, how to be aware of the message you're getting. I really like this one. This bullet point: messages must connect to realistic steps that fit daily routine and not idealized behaviors. Yes, because we feel so guilty sometimes when we see the others on the socials. They are doing everything well. They have a great life. They have a sustainable, perfect life. Everything is perfect. And we are looking at our daily life and we say, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this one either. And this is like a guilt. You feel guilty not to be able to achieve. So that's why, according to me, let's be honest and transparent, especially if you have to communicate about sustainability. Be transparent and honest. Well, we try. I know it's not always easy to communicate well. I think in the next module, we are not talking about the communication. We are more talking about the emotions and the stress. This is out of the subject from now, but I mean, it's not a judgment that I say, but I know that when I want to communicate, it's not always easy to give the right message and the most honest message, because we all want in a certain way, we all want to be brave and do it good. And I really like the social networks, I really like it because I think it's a great source of information. But me too, sometimes I can feel guilty because I'm not able to do this thing or this thing, and I see all the others. I have the feeling that they're doing all perfect. So yes, let's try to be transparent and honest with ourselves and all the actions we cannot make today. I'm sure we will be successful maybe tomorrow or days after. It was a parenthesis just about that. Engagement mechanism and behavioral feedback. Yes. So the social validation, likes and shares function are normative signals. They can increase commitments by showing that practices are valued. Reminders and notifications create continuity, which matters because behavioral change requires repetition. And the feedback mechanism are central because tracking and prompts can support self-regulation. That's what I'm a bit doing now with my prompt. Yes. Yes, feedback mechanism are central. Tracking and prompts can support self-regulation. That's what I said. Sorry, I was a bit lost because I did this little parenthesis with you. And especially when they translate abstract goals into observable progress. So the transparency and the trust remain crucial. If users feel monitored or manipulated, as we said before, they are not going to engage with you. And this is really true because I think that when the trust is cut and when they don't engage with us anymore because there is no trust anymore, it's really difficult to welcome them back. Let's say like this. Just a visual. I found it on some article research about how to reduce food waste, the habits, the behavior, the emotion. We are talking about emotions later. Perceived behavioral control, the attitude, the subjective norm. So this is not really all about the platforms, digital and everything, but it's this kind of ecosystem of the intention to be in action. So it's new habits to take, it's change my behavior, it's feeling a great emotion of joy by doing that, is how I can manage it every day, the attitude with my great words I want to share, and the subjective norm. All right, participation, social learning, and online engagement. So this matters because sustainable consumption is practice based. Absolutely, I totally agree. Social learning mechanism operate through visibility, seeing peers, actions can normalize behaviors and reduce perceived effort. So it's all about the idea that online communication can function as communities of practice when they foster trust and share purpose. So learning becomes, for example, cumulative rather than episodic. Because when it's cumulative, we are talking about sustainable engagement. We are talking about sustainable actions. So if we are doing just one time, it's isolated just one time. It's okay. It's good. But long-term goals are, according to me, the best. So sometimes as well, the participation can be very variable as well. And some interaction as well on social learning platforms can become superficial or polarized as well. So the digital platforms are educationally valuable when the participation is designed and supported and not merely a load. So this is the visual is to show you all the educational campaigns and behavior change interventions to reduce household food waste. It's an example. So it's not all about digital platforms, but it's about digital platforms, for example, for the awareness campaigns, but it's as well how to give the practical tips they need, how they can change the behavior, but how as well they are engaged into communities. I'm not talking about communities in your neighborhood, but it can be as well a digital communities. I am personally engaged in some digital communities, and it works because we have meetings, we have workshop, we can leave some messages because it's a community about sustainability, but one is living in Japan, another one is living in France, in Paris. I am living in the east of France, so it's great to be part of a community like that. And it's as well a possibility to collaborate with all stakeholders. So let's continue with the limits and the risk of digital only approaches. So yes, I'm just reading. Algorithm shape attention by amplifying certain voices and practices. This is a huge problem. Well, it can be a problem and it can be good. Sorry. If you're scrolling and if you have great contents that elevate you, nourish your brain, this is great. But sometimes if we start to read other things, more about fears, all problems that are going into the world, it's difficult, it can provide some fears, then the algorithm calculates and will show you other stuff like this. So another major risk, symbolic engagement. Online reactions may create a feeling of participation without changing practices. So it's all about what I take for information and how I'm really acting on the ground. So the digital impact cannot be inferred from engagement metrics alone, and effective strategies must include inclusion design, representation awareness, and offline complements that anchor learning in practice. Yes. So it's always very good to take the information, be doing my part into this digital approach, and as well being aware of all the limits and the risk as well. So integration digital as complementary tool in prevention strategy. Let me just see. Yes, I'm sorry. I just needed to go again on just to make sure that it was quite at the end, because I try not to repeat the same thing. So complementary principle, reinforcements of learning over time, bridging awareness and practice. I think you have understood that one. Strategic alignment with policy and coordination, logic, communication, and education. So the digital is a very good place to learn, to be informed, to increase our awareness of the challenges or the change we want to make. But as well, it's very important to be active, to share as well. I mean, to have a proactive behavior, let's say it like this, even if you are online, is how I can have a proactive contribution online as well than with my community, for example, on the ground. Okay. The worst thing we could do, and I put myself into that, of course, is really getting all the information in the brain and forget it, and we don't do anything, and we remain passive. That's a bit the problem of the digital platforms. So integration, it's, according to me, is really integrate the digital, being in action on the ground and as well in the digital part. Some key takeaways. Digital platforms expand reach, but not a guarantee learning. The education quality depends on structure, trust, and interaction. Behavioral change is socially mediated. Digital tools are complementary, but it's not an alone, lonely solutions. An effective food waste education combines digital communication, community engagement, and policy coherence. So it was a tough module. That's why I had to read a little bit more. I hope you don't mind for that. It's really, when I prepare it, I discovered so many new concepts, theoretical concepts that I wasn't aware of. So I really taught myself as well a lot. If you want to get in touch with the project, please, you can join us on the Food Chase website. You can as well follow me on the LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn page. And please email me if you have any question or any remark or whatever the subject you want to talk. I will be happy to give you answers. Thank you very much and have a beautiful day.